It's been a busy week for Microsoft Flight Simulator, with World Update 13 arriving along with a brand new plane. Now, every so often, I like to jump in on the latest development updates and have a look at how things are going with the roadmap and the wish list. So join me as we take a look at that right now and see what's happening with the future of the sim. So the latest development update came out just yesterday, 27th of April. Quick summary there of what's happened this week. Yes, World Update 13, Oceania, and a little bit of Antarctica, although, as I mentioned previously, unfortunately not quite as much of Antarctica as I would like to have seen. But nonetheless, it is still there. And then we've got a tutorial here for the new plane, the ATR-42, which is a pretty complex plane, so complex in fact that Microsoft have added this massive set of tutorials to their YouTube page. And I'll include this in the video description as a link in case you find this necessary. But, I really do like it that they've gone all out here and gone through the entire process of introducing the craft and going from cold, getting onto the runway and, taking off, climbing, as well as coming back to cruise, descent and approach. So we've got the entire process here detailing exactly how to use this great new plane. Now, if we come to the roadmap itself, we can see a few things that were scheduled for World Update 13. I assume that they were added into the sim. Windsock heading fix. I gather that those are now fixed, at least assume based on this. I haven't checked that myself. Do let me know in the comment section if that is a case. Looking towards the further future, we've got Sim Update 13, which of course is coming next month. Going to have some logbook issue fixes here. Now this one, the next point, is particularly interesting for me, which is the World Update TIN fixes. These will fix some of the cities that have had problems over the previous years. So the Canadian cities were a massive disappointment for a lot of people. Jörg Newman, head of Microsoft Flight Simulator, said that it was a disappointment to him as well. Unfortunately, the data for the sim just wasn't all that good at the time. The data available was a little bit rough and ready, I should say. So this looks like it's going to be fixed in Sim Update 13, along with some of the cities in Germany. Now, they put USA here as a stretch goal, so USA 2, that's the second batch of cities that come with the second USA update not too long ago. Still, unfortunately, no mention of London, which, let's face it, needs a rather large overhaul in terms of photogrammetry. Jörg has said that London is on the to-do list, but obviously not happening just yet. Also, World Update points of interest and airport fixes. These are coming with Sim Update 13 and include a whole bunch of fixes from previous World Updates, going all the way back to World Update 3 by the looks of it. They say great progress was made in this area that was released with Sim Update 12, and we're aiming to fix all remaining bugs. There's 100 of them by World Update 13. I'm not sure if they mean the Sim Update 13 now, as Sim Update 13 is under the release list. Then we got some aircraft fixes based on community feedback, and of course the long-awaited scenery gateway system. They say, and this is actually really good news, the tool is ready to go, but we are working through some website compliance issues. We hope to roll this out in May, June, so that would schedule it for World Update 14. Now, the scenery gateway system is a really big deal because it will allow players to access community mods from the marketplace, essentially free content that currently is not available directly. You have to try and get these things from external sources. So this is a really big deal. And my understanding of it is that this will also be available on Xbox, which will be one of the first times such a community tool has been available for a console game. So very interesting to see how that pans out. Now moving on, we have some extra content here. These are the bugs. So some of the bugs that I've really kind of keen to see I've highlighted. Please fix photogrammetry and or level of detail. Now this has been started for bridges. Microsoft have said that they're going through the bridges, kind of bridge by bridge. It has to be done on a manual process. But this will allow bridges in photogrammetry cities to have a hollow underside. So Basically, if you've got the right type of plane, you'll now be able to fly underneath these bridges, so a very good start. The coastline glitch is also a bit of an issue that you may have seen this happening over the years. That's water creeping up coastlines and cliffs. This is an ongoing fix, so that's something we've hopefully seen, hopefully we'll see more of in the future, and we've seen a little bit of over the previous months and the previous releases. Now elsewhere we can see planned. We've got 3 planned items here, which mostly are graphical related. Reflections look grainy, even if reflections are on ultra. Multiplayer issues, that's with players disappearing or not visible at all. So I don't know if that's a graphical issue. Is that a case where players' planes are disappearing from view, but the player is still kind of there? Or is it that they're simply dropping out of the multiplayer session? Not entirely clear, but I suspect it's more of a visual issue. But yeah, maybe people have a little bit more information on that, would like to leave some information in the comment section. That's always helpful if you have it. Now this is another issue which kind of bugs me, especially if you're flying in areas like the Alps. That is, mountains and coastlines constantly morphing since the USA, UK and Nordics update. Now the Nordics update was far more recent, so surprising that hasn't been fixed, but it still says planned, and anyone who's been looking at this list for any length of time will know that has been on there for a very long time now. So morphing mountains, not too bad if you're in low-lying areas, but if you go to the Alps, if you go to Canada, if you go to other mountainous regions, it can be very, very distracting. We've also got the scenery gateway system here mentioned, World Hub as they're calling it. Started effective in Sim Update 12, so I assume this is a little bit outdated despite the wish list showing this is for the April the 27th. They're showing that it's going to be effective in Sim Update 13. We know based on the other wish list that this is coming in World Update 14 around about May or June time. But another issue here with disappointing mountain terrain, 2-rounded, that is especially noticeable in places like Antarctica, where there is little to no elevation map data. Now, even though there's no elevation data really there, or very minimal elevation data in those sorts of places, it's unfortunate that the sim generates rounded mountains. Seems that it really shouldn't be doing that. But this is ongoing work being fixed through a world update. I was hoping to see that be fixed with Antarctica, but I guess the photogrammetry data, the terrain data rather, there is just not up to scratch at the moment. Can we have our classic flyby views back? This is something I'd really like to see. I was really hoping would be in the sim from day one. It says not started. Guess we should be pleased that it doesn't say not planned, so maybe that's coming at some point in the future. Another one that stands out to me, as always, is the World Update Brazil. This has been on here for probably a couple of years at this point. A couple of years, that will take us back to 2021. So yeah, quite believable. It's been on there that long. Still planned, still not happening just yet. But really good news. Further down the list, we can see that Seasons has been started, and fingers crossed that is going to be one of the big updates for this year. I know Seasons was a particular issue for them because, well, it's a global thing, isn't it? It's not just a case of having seasons in one particular region. Seasons affect an entire planet, and when you're simulating a vast area like a one-to-one Earth, then the seasons need to be done properly. And there's also going to be a freeware category for the msfs marketplace. I'm not sure quite how this differs to the scenery gateway. Work on that has been started. We got wing fade effects when flying through clouds and functional window wipers under investigation. Another thing that has been on here for a very long time is the Northern Lights and the Aurora Borealis. Now, people who have been watching the developer Q&As will be aware of what's going on here. This is something that Asobo have said that they could add in very easily. They could just add some visual effects into the skybox effectively and give us some Northern Lights. But they don't want to go that way. They don't want to take the shortcut. They want to have full-on Aurora Borealis simulations so that basically the sim will have magnetic fields going on in there, and that the Aurora Borealis will act correctly according to whatever's going on with the magnetic areas of the planets and the atmosphere. So yes, Northern Lights coming, but only when they can do it correctly. Historic weather as a second timeline. So this one is interesting to me. Historic weather, historic live weather, I would assume. How far back would that go? Could we go back just a few days, months, years even? Would this be a case of Microsoft sourcing weather data from previous decades and allowing players and simmers to relive some significant historic weather events? Or is it more of a case of players just being able to time travel back a few days to the weather from yesterday or the weather from last week? Not at all clear. Says under investigation, so possibly not yet going to happen, or at least not in any immediate capacity. And finally, realistic dangerous weather under investigation. What does realistic dangerous weather mean? High speed, high wind speeds, that's already in the game. Or could it mean things such as tornadoes and hurricanes? That would be interesting to see. Again, under development. Now, one thing I do want to, under investigation rather, just to put that clear, one thing I do want to point out is, and I think it's fantastic that Asobo and Microsoft do have these roadmaps, although there's a lot of things on here that stay on the list for a very long time and don't really get a status update. It's a good insight into what's going on with development and something that not a lot of development companies do. So I'm very pleased to see that Microsoft still keep these up and they do continue to update them. As you can see, this is the wishlist lifetime from April the 27th, so very, very recent. As I say, great stuff to see they keep this up, and something that I feel a lot of other companies could learn from. And finally, we have the roadmap here. We're now, well, pretty much at the end of the roadmap, actually. Late April shows World Update 13, date to be decided. It did turn out that that did come out, I think, on the 25th of April, so pretty accurate. We're going to need a new roadmap. Hopefully that is coming next week with the next development update, which will take us into May and give us a bit of information as to what we can expect over the next quarter of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, if you find these types of videos interesting, I tend to just, go through the basics on them, but if you find them interesting and useful, do let me know in the comment section below, because I do enjoy making them and would like to do these on a bit more of a frequent basis. So let me know in the comment section. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.